Hey everybody, I'm your guide, and this is the 5th video in a series with more than 150 entries where we'll look at the fascinating and often frightening monsters inscribed in our trusty monster manual. In each video, we'll cover what's in the manual, but also other interesting tidbits I found in my travels. This companion series is meant to educate, entertain, and elevate your excursions into the more dangerous areas of the Forgotten Realms. Everywhere from the cemetery behind your local church to the 9 hells and everywhere in between, and even some places much, much more interesting. So come, join me. Let's begin. The Ankheg, a rather iconic insectoid monster with slender limbs and large antennae that burrows underground and hunts from below. This 6-legged creature has a many-segmented body all covered in a brownish-yellow chitinous exoskeleton. The head has black compound eyes, antennae, and mandibles capable of quite literally snapping small trees in half. Ankhegs sit at around 10 feet long and weigh in around 800 pounds, so these guys can be quite intimidating to say the least. Ankhegs are known to primarily live in warmer climates, but it's not unheard of to find them in colder areas, in which case they'll hibernate during the winter, during which the Ankheg takes nutrients through its shell and its antenna. The Ankhegs in the warmer climes dwell in partially collapsed burrows usually 40 feet underground. Surprisingly for me, Ankhegs do not actually create tunnels, they simply burrow down into the ground. But they are technically able to create hollow tunnels if they dig slowly, and they'll typically use these hollow tunnels for lair purposes like sleeping or hibernation. Although the creatures receive a portion of their nutrients from the soil through which they burrow, they also need to supplement their diet with fresh meat. Pastures teeming with grazing livestock and forests rife with game are in Ankheg's prime hunting grounds. So you can imagine the Ankheg being the bane of some farmers. But in certain other senses, farmers might even appreciate some local Ankhegs. For example, an Ankheg's tunnel could effectively irrigate a farmer's crops, and the Ankheg's excrement can provide enriching minerals. In fact, I've heard it said that having an Ankheg burrow can provide up to 15% higher yields from farmers' crops. While hunting, the Ankheg uses its powerful mandibles to dig winding tunnels up from deep beneath the ground. It'll wait right below the surface, maybe 5 feet or so, and wait for potential victims to stroll by. When the Ankheg detects movements above via its antennae, it'll burst from the ground and seize its prey in its mandibles. Once it has its prey in its clutches, it'll start to crush and grind the hapless victim while it secretes digestive enzymes. These enzymes help to dissolve a victim to make it easier for the Ankheg to swallow. It's also certainly not unheard of for an Ankheg to spray the acidic substance across short distances to take down foes. The life cycle of an Ankheg is fairly standard fare. They mate in the autumn, where the fertilized female will kill the male and lay 6 to 12 eggs inside him. With a relatively low infant mortality rate, the eggs will hatch within 2 to 10 days and start to feed. An Ankheg broodling remains hidden and does not hunt. Instead, the mother provides sustenance for approximately 1 year, after which the young Ankheg are able to fend for themselves. Around the 2nd year, the young Ankheg sheds its chitin before winter. It takes a little less than 10 days to complete the process and grow a new shell. During this time, the youngling is slower and more vulnerable, so to defend itself it secretes a fluid that smells like rotten fruit. However, sometimes this defense does backfire, as certain other creatures might even be lured in by such a smell. Adult Ankhegs can see in pitch darkness as well as detect vibrations in the ground from up to 60 feet away. The attack acid I mentioned before is actually part of the digestive system for the creature, so after a discharge, it can't digest food for the next 6 hours. If one were to kill an Ankheg, you can attempt to harvest the shell of the creature, in which case they typically weigh in at about 100 pounds and can be used to great effect by armorers, believe it or not. Men like Tarim out in Baragost is fairly well known for forging armor from the shells of Ankheg. I've heard it takes about 3 days to make, but the armor is very nearly as effective as full plate mail, but weighs considerably less, which makes it pretty amazing for those of us less physically impressive. I think he sells it for about 20,000 gold, but if one were to provide the shell to him, I think he lets them go for about 4,000 for the complete set. But that's assuming you want to go looking for these giant bugs. Like I said in the beginning, these guys are one of the more iconic creatures here in the realm, so most people know what their deal is. But I'm covering our entire manual, so in an effort to be thorough, here we are. So I hope with this entry you feel a bit safer when adventuring around the warmer climates of the Forgotten Realms. Alright guys, that covers the Ankheg. Not a huge fan of bugs, so if I ever saw these things in real life, I'd be moving pretty quickly in the opposite direction. Our next entry is that of the Azer, so it looks like we'll be dipping into the elemental plane of fire for the first time in the series. If that sounds fun to you, hit that subscribe button, otherwise this is your guide signing out. Be safe, take care, and happy trails.